Welcome back to the Fuji Guys channel. My name is Francis. So, did you get yourself a brand new Fujifilm X-S20 and are looking to know a little bit more about how it works? Well, if so, you're at the right place, so keep on watching. Alright, so first let's talk about exposure setting. So on the Fujifilm X-S20, you will be changing your aperture using the aperture ring on the lens if it has one, or if it doesn't, you'll be using the front command dial to change your aperture. Now to change your shutter speed on the Fujifilm X-S20, you'll be using the rear command dial. So by simply rotating it like so, you'll be able to change your shutter speed. And that is if you are into the manual mode. Now, if you want to change your ISO, simply push on the ISO button and then use the joystick to navigate the various sensitivity. Now, as a side note, there is a pop-up flash on the X-S20 and you can simply pull on this lever here and that will bring up the pop-up flash. Now the Fujifilm X-S20 does feature a vlog mode, so on the dial itself you do have a vlog position, and one really neat thing about it is that it will store all the settings you set for your vlog mode. Now you can choose whether you want it to be an either program, aperture priority, shutter speed priority, or fully manual, and to do so simply press on the menu OK button and then go to shooting mode, and then you can choose from there whether you want it in program, in shutter priority, aperture priority, or manual. We'll leave it to program for now. Now going back to the screen, you can see that we have a vlog little button, touch button on the screen. So by clicking on it, it will bring up some quick access to key features for vlogging or content creation. So we can see we have a self timer for video. We can choose whether we want it for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. Next, we have the face and eye detection setting. So by default, it's going to be set to off, but we can have it for a face detection, the eye detection auto, the right eye, or the left eye, or again, we can turn it off. We also have product priority mode. So that would be very useful if you are creating content about a specific product, and then have it focus at all time without the camera trying to focus on your face. It'll detect that you're showing a product and it'll keep it in focus whether you move it across the frame or right in the center. As long as the product is in the frame, it'll be focused on it and then it will ignore your face basically. Next, we have the IS mode, so image stabilization. So we can choose whether we want the IBIS and OIS, or if you want to enable the digital image stabilization as well. Next, we have high-speed recording. So that's basically slow motion video. So we can get up to 240 frames per second in slow motion. So that's a 10 times slow motion. So quite impressive. And then the last button we have is background defocus. So if you're not very familiar with photography and videography terms, aperture and so on, this basically helps you to have your background blurred. So whatever setting you have to your lens, so let's say you have aperture f8 on the lens, but you enable the background defocus, it will actually override that and keep the widest aperture onto your lens. So if you have a 1.4 lens, even if it's set to f8, it'll default to f1.4. So these are very handy features for content creation or vlogging itself. Now again, all the settings you input in this mode on the position vlog onto the mode dial will be remembered even if you go out to shoot some pictures onto the manual mode or just to simply to the video mode. Whenever you get back to the vlog mode, all of your settings will be remembered. So as mentioned before, the Fujifilm X-S20 does feature face and eye detection, but it also features subject detection. So whether you're in photo mode or in video mode, you can use the face and eye detection as well as subject detection. Now, how you set that up, you simply go into the menu and then go to the AF/MF menu, and then you can go down to face and eye detection, and then you can choose on, but you can also go further and decide which eye you want in focus. So whether you want the right eye or the left eye in focus. And again, you can turn it off and just have face detection enabled or completely off. Now, if you go one down, we have subject detection setting. So we have the possibility to detect automatically animal, birds, automobiles, motorcycles and bikes, airplanes and trains. And then under that, we also have the ability to detect insects as well as drones. So drones will be under airplane, and then insects will be under animal. So if I want to take pictures of birds, for example, I can simply select bird, and then the camera will automatically detect the bird within the frame and keep tracking it. Now, if we are into the auto position, we now have an auto for the subject detection. So basically when you go into the auto mode and select subject detection auto, the camera will automatically detect which subject it sees and then track it. So whether it's a car, it'll detect it, a plane, a bird, an animal, and so on. So that will definitely help to get perfectly sharp focus on whatever you're shooting. Now, the Fujifilm X-S20 is highly customizable, so we can customize certain buttons to do certain features and just make the camera fit our needs better. So how do we go about customizing the buttons on the camera? So we simply have to press on the display back button for a couple seconds, and then we'll see a diagram of the camera pop up. So as I go down, you can see that the buttons become highlighted, and then we also have some touch functions as well. And then we can go in and choose which feature will be activated when we press on that button. So for example, if I go onto the Q button and I don't want it to be accessing the quick menu, I actually want it instead to change my white balance. So I can just go and select it. And then now when I press onto the Q button, I'll be able to change my white balance. Now, another neat thing is that we can also customize the function dial on the left side of the camera. So a lot of people like to use that for ISO. So I can just go in and choose ISO. And then now, when I rotate the dial, I can go and change my ISO. So that's how you can customize your Fujifilm X-S20 to your liking. The Fujifilm X-S20 features 4 custom positions, so C1 to C4. And the nice thing is that I can choose whether these C1 to C4 positions are for photo or for video. So how do I go about customizing them? So I'm going to go into the menu and then go into the IQ menu and then go to custom mode setting. And then from there, I can choose whether the C1 position is for photo or for video, and then so on for the 4 positions. So let's keep C1 and C2 for photo, and then have C3 to C4 for video. So that's set. Now, how do I go about customizing these positions? So you could go the long way, I find, and then go into Edit and Save Custom Setting, and then go to your C1 and then go and edit, check your settings. And then from there, you can go and choose the shooting mode. You can set it to manual, for example, your aperture, all your settings like that. But the way I like to do it, which I find to be much more efficient, is to go back and then have auto update custom setting enabled. And then go to my C1 position and then go through the camera and then make my settings. So whether it's ISO, changing my ISO to auto 1, and then having my focusing mode to AFC, and then having my subject detection to be for birds, right? So that's set. And then I go to my C2 position and then again do my settings and then go to C3. Now I'm in my video because that's how I set it. And then go on and tune in my settings. And then once all that is done, I go back and then have the auto update custom setting set to disabled. So now all of my settings are recorded. I can go to my C1, C2, and C3 and C4. I can play and even change some settings, but whenever I leave it and I come back to it, I'll get back to my original settings. So that's how I like to set my C1 to C4 position. And again, these are really useful if you are shooting different things. So let's say your C1 is going to be for shooting birds. Your C2 is going to be for your macro work. So maybe you have manual focus enabled and then a different film simulation, for example. So that's how you go about using the C1 to C4 positions on the XS20. So for video recording, we do have a very nice screen to go on about settings, about resolution, bitrate, and so on. So if we get to the movie mode on the dial, and then go to the menu OK button, we have movie setting list. And we have a couple sections here. So you can see on the left side, we have media, which is your SD card. And then on the right side, if we had a recorder attached to the XS20, we would have access to these settings. So first is the resolution. So I can go in and set the XS20 to 6.2K and then choose my frame rate. So I like to have 23.98. The second section, we choose where we want to record to. So in this case, it'll be SD card. I can choose from a lot of options in terms of video codec. And then I can choose my bitrate from there. So the higher the bitrate, the more information I will have onto my file, but the bigger the files will be as well. And then the third section will be where I choose how I want to record. Do I want to record with the film simulation, or do I want to record with log, F-Log, or F-Log2, or if I want to record in hybrid log gamma, I have that option as well. So personally, I do really enjoy the film simulation, so I'll be choosing the film simulation. And then you can see on both sides going to the SD card and going to the HDMI as well. So I really do like my film simulation, so that's what I'm going to select. And if we look on the right side of the camera, we can see that the Fujifilm X-S20 actually features RAW recording, so I can record in ProRes RAW or in Blackmagic RAW, and that's where I would go about to select whether I want to record in 5.2K, which is quite incredible, or even more incredible in 6.2K RAW. And then I will choose my frame rate up there as well. On the topic of video recording, the Fujifilm X-S20 does offer a lot of tally options. So basically some ways to ensure that you know that you are recording and you know that you are not recording as well. So the first one we'll talk about is the front LED that can light on whenever recording, which is a feature that I'm using right now actually. So I will go into the movie setting to the third page, and I have an option for tally light, and then from there I can choose from a lot of options. You can have the lights blink or have them solid, front and back. So the way I like to have it is front and rear solid, so that it's not blinking, because if it does interfere with your shot, actually blinking is much more distracting than just having a light on it. So that's the way I like to have it personally. Now, an other tally option will be the record frame indicator. So you can have it on or off. So what it will do is actually give you a red border around your frame to let you know that you're recording. And then also if you're recording in slow motion, so in high-speed recording, it will give you a bluish border to let you know that you are in high-speed recording mode. So quite useful because in the high-speed mode, you don't have sound. So if by mistake you are set to high-speed recording and you're talking to the camera, there won't be any sound and you will be super slow. So having that blue border definitely is helpful to let you know that you're in the high-speed recording mode. Now, the last tally option I want to talk about is a start and stop chime. So for that, we'll go into the wrench icon and into the sound setup. And then we have our rec start stop volume, and then we can turn it very loud or you know, a little less loud, I'm gonna have it very loud for this one so you can hear. So now whenever I'm gonna be recording something, you can hear that chime. You can also see that border. And then it lets me know that it's stopping. So these are the tally options for the Fujifilm X-S20. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to use certain features about your X-S20. Now, if you want to know more about this and other Fujifilm products, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Now, if you want to see other video related to the X-S20, just check the card here. And until next time, c'était Francis pour les Fuji Guys.